Hey, I'm Jason Freeman. Welcome to Awkwardly Awesome Podcast, episode 66. A little about me briefly before we get started. I'm a professional speaker who ironically has a speech impediment. I specialize in speaking to junior high and high school students about kindness, courage, creativity, and adventure. And speaking of exciting things, today we have an amazing guest, Heather Thomas. Let me tell you briefly about Heather, but first I'll bring her on so you can look at her beautiful profile while I'm speaking. So Heather Thomas serves as a technical solution consultant to the largest Fortune 100 companies, helping them to hire their workforce. Her work has given her the opportunity to travel the country and, check this out, present unemployment matters to audiences in Las Vegas, Phoenix, Miami, and New York City. In 2022, Heather is launching a life, wellness, and career coaching business. This spring, she will be a certified she will be a coach certified by the Health Coach Institute in nutrition, habit change, and transforming limited beliefs. Heather is also a mother of 3 and a Zumba dance instructor. She has been lead actress in 2 live shows. She runs an annual 5K with her boys. Just a regular all-American person who does everything. This is amazing. She loves the quote often attributed to either Nelson Mandela or spiritualist Marianne Williamson, which begins our deepest fear is that our deepest fear is okay. Okay, take 4. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate, but that we are powerful beyond measure. Please welcome Heather Thomas. Yay!
Oh,
You're
hello,
already here.
Jason.
I
Hello.
don't have to bring you on.
Oh my goodness. That I'm a little I'm flushed. That made me sound so good. I don't know if that's all all that and a bag of chips, but I am
So,
so honored to be your 66th guest. That is amazing.
oh, thank you. I love interviewing people, and I'm excited to interview you. So when I met you a few years ago, you were already at the top of your game as you are now. Will you describe the way we met, please?
Yes, it's interesting, isn't it? And you actually have a very big role in this new chapter of my life. So I can't wait to
But
tell your listeners.
awesome. But first, just tell them how we met.
Yes. So we
Did
were
we
on a
meet at a
plane.
coffee shop?
No, we were on a plane, and if you remember, I believe we got directed to a different city because our plane was hitting some weather. I think we were
To
flying into Phoenix.
to Flagstaff, I think.
Right. And I think we spent the entire flight not talking because I traveled a lot. So I typically would be working on a speech. And I remember I was working on a very important speech. And so I was really focused and I was really struggling with that speech. And then we ended up having like a 2-hour delay sitting on the tarmac in Flagstaff.
Yeah, when is the ever weather in Phoenix? But that was
Right. Right.
so.
So then do you remember what happened next?
No, tell a little more.
So because they felt bad because we were on the tarmac, they started handing out snacks, extra snacks, and I think extra wine as well. And I think they offered me some extra snacks, and I gave it away, I think, to a seatmate across the hall, across the aisleway. And I think I remember you just looking at me and go, "Oh, that was so nice of you. Why did you do that?" And I'll be honest, Jason, I typically did not tell my story very readily to people, much less strangers. And for some reason, it just came pouring out. And I said, well, the reason why sorry, my dog just came running in. The reason why I gave away the snacks is because I follow a pretty rigorous diet program. I had been overweight for most of my adult life. And now I'm just very careful about having extra snacks and stuff in front of me.
Oh, and that's how the conversation started?
Yes. I'll never forget the next thing that you said to me. You said, "Wow, that's amazing. What made you want to change?"
Hmm.
And I was shell shocked. Shell
Hmm.
shocked. I had not thought of that in 15 years
Hmm.
because I was kind of living the second chapter of a new life. I had lost a bunch of weight. At that time, it was about 12 years prior. I had kept it off. And interestingly enough, and you and I talked about this briefly, that was the speech I was trying to write. I was trying to actually, for the first time, start to tell that story. And I was really stuck. And so you started asking me all these really deep questions. Why did I want to change? What was it that went through your mind? And I was floored by you. And then you continued to share with me that you had a book, right? And so I have to tell you, it's right here, right? I think I immediately ordered it and went through a bunch of the questions. It was just amazing. It was amazing. And I ended up from our conversation, and I'm not sure you know this, but I ended up writing a speech called "The Story That Wanted to Be Told." And I told it at my Toastmasters group. I got a standing ovation. And they've asked me multiple times to retell the story of our meeting and the story of my weight loss transformation at big events.
Wow. Wow. Wow, that's so cool and so fortuitous, and we have more connections which we're going to reveal later. But let's back up a little bit. I'm liking this, keeping the audience in a bit of suspense. But so as a teenager, did you ever expect to be where you are now?
Gosh, you're always so good with the questions, right? I know that I'm where I'm at because deep inside, I knew I needed to be here to feel like I had purpose. And so trudging through, recovering from a traumatic upbringing and some of the dysregulation that comes with emotionally, and that led to severe emotional eating. I believed that I had to win the battle someday, somehow.
Hmm. So you had the belief. You mentioned the traumatic upbringing. Before we leave that, what would you say to someone listening who who might be struggling with a traumatic upbringing and still struggling with the weight of it years later.
Yeah. I think we do we do ourselves a disservice, I think, sometimes in our culture by only seeing the images of people, and then we assume they must have had it easy. And I've been guilty of that myself, right?
Mm.
And we think that because someone's successful or as an actress or is on the big screen, that they didn't have to go through resilient things to get them there. So
Mm.
I would encourage reading biographies, doing some
Mm.
research on some of your favorite people. I
Mm.
think as an adult, as
Mm.
I grew and I learned that a lot of the people that I admired the most, Oprah, let's say. By the way, Jason, I have this vision that you're going to be on Oprah someday, and I'm going to be there with you. I'm just putting that out there,
Oh,
manifesting that.
I love that vision. Yeah, that's a good one.
So as you listen to like Oprah's biography and all that she endured in her childhood, but then even the struggles she had early in her career and having to go with what she believed in. I wonder if our youth, certain generations now would know that that's her history and that's her story. And and there's thousands of those same stories.
As you mentioned, I mean, you, I kind of know that she had a rough story, but still, part of me does that, just looks at Oprah and goes, "Wow, you had an amazing life." So your advice is I love it because so often when we deal with really tough things, it's easy, and I've done this in the past, fall in the trap of thinking we're the only ones. Oh, woe is me. Oh, there's no solution. So 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 you were coping with this stuff in high school and going into adulthood, and what were some of your coping strategies at that time?
Yeah. So when I talk about now I finally understand that just some of the things that happened in childhood left me what's called dysregulated, which means that you only know how to process big emotions and you don't know how to even regulate yourself up to the small emotions.
Mm.
And that's one of the reasons why I actually love the world of work, and I think why I have such a great career space as well, because when I started working, you have to be regulated at work. So it was a respite.
Mm.
It gave me relief
Mm.
from the dysregulation that I had in my personal life. And so as a teenager, I was a two-time teenage runaway. I did eventually graduate high school. I went and put myself through a technical college, then in my 20s.
Mm.
And so, but I had little support, not a lot of support. And I was
Mm.
kind of on my own at a pretty young age.
Mm.
And, that just kind of leaves you kind of clawing at your dreams while you're dealing with all of this heavy emotion around. And I look back at the pictures, of that time, and even the look on my face, you can tell just how angry, because it wasn't just weight. I was angry, I was bitter, I blamed people. I was just not a pleasant person to be around for a very long time. I didn't come out of that space until my 30s.
You keep talking about weight, and we might as well. Like were you like 10 or 20 pounds overweight? What was the deal?
I had reached up to about 300 pounds, and basically had been at that weight from about the age of 18 to about 29. And the damage.
So 18 to 29, that's 11 years.
Yes.
So how does a person even begin to do this? Your 11-year reality was that you weigh 300 pounds. How did you even begin to envision another way of being?
Yeah. I had been on so many diets. So I had been on diets because I'd struggled with my weight even as a teenager, as young as 10. I
As
really,
young as 10.
yeah, I mean, my first diet, I think, was at the age of 10.
Oh no.
Yeah.
That's
And
it's a lot of
it's
it's
a
a lot
lot of
of
years.
stress.
Yeah. And I had had a lot of success with different diets, right? So you can see in pictures in my teenage years where, I had lost a lot of weight from time to time. But when you're on your own in your 20s and it's just you and your life and your emotions, right? It's going to take you where it's going to take you. I hit a point in my 30s where, actually right at about 30, I think it was right around my birthday, my 30th year. And I was like, I am just sick and tired of being sick and tired. I was done. I was
Mm.
absolutely done. I knew that I wanted to be different. I knew I had to be different because all the dreams that I had were literally slipping away. Everything I had ever wanted for myself, I wasn't going to have. And but I didn't know how to get there. And I'll be honest, I kind of cast a wide net in terms of I probably read 5 different diet books. At the time, I know I tried Weight Watchers and I tried all these different programs. And in the end, see, that's, I think, the key is that not one particular thing was the, silver bullet. It was, I had to change. My insides needed to change. The diet doesn't really matter. It was that the entirety of my mindset, how I related to life, how I related to people, how I related to food, all of it needed to evolve and transform. And that's a slow process, but I did that alongside with exercise and such.
So so you never found the silver bullet outside of yourself. You found it within you.
Yeah, well said. Yeah, no, there was no particular shake, pill, program. And I have to be honest, Jason. I mean, even since losing the weight, I've even tried to be like normal people, and I've tried some of the diets, and they always continue to fail me. And that's why I've doubled down on taking my career and what I kind of call integrating it all together now. I'm
Mm,
finally able to talk about this, um, and I think I'm going to share a little tidbit that I got in some of the coaching courses. Right out of the gate, someone had asked me a coaching question, and it was, well, if you didn't have this struggle with food or weight, because I feel like I still struggle with it now, right? Like I'm still not at the weight that I'd like to be. We all kind of feel that usually in January.
mm-hmm.
And so if you weren't struggling that, what would you do? And I was like, I would run a health and wellness coaching business. I would be on stage talking about it. I would be inspiring other people. I would be helping them feel fully alive. And she said, so what's stopping you? And I was like, well, because I haven't got it all figured out. And she said,
Mm,
so is that an excuse or is that a reality? And I was like, wow, wow, right? Like I was letting the fear of feeling like a fraud, right? Or feeling like I didn't have it all figured out from
mm.
actually coming out and starting to tell my story.
Well, well, and and how often do we humans do that? Think we have to have it all the ducks in a row before we tell our stories, before we go for our dreams, how often do we do it?
Right.
Um, Second for a comment, Joe Ingram, who an amazing person and an amazing sales person and teacher now, says, I'm just a bonafide mess, so I relate to the you laugh out. Oh, and I mean, that's amazing coming from Joe, because I see him as this ultra confident person at the top of his game. Sometimes we can feel like a how do you say that word?
But yeah, bona fide, you had it.
Bona fide mess on the inside, and no one else gets it. No one else picks it up.
And with so much content out there, right? Everyone's, or I've heard a lot of fantastic people speak that I can resonate. Their stories resonate with me. Even on your podcast, a lot of your guests, I think, I think the first thing we think to ourselves is, oh wow, that they're great, I'm not, so what do I have to say? What's unique about me, right? Like, so, and I, of course, I think we all struggle with that. We struggle with believing in ourselves, and that's something that we just have to be on it, awkwardly awesome and honest about it, right? It doesn't have to be perfect. You really helped me see that as well with, I don't have to do wellness perfect. I don't have to do speaking perfect.
Mm.
I can just show up and just be the best I can in that moment. Just like when we started, right? My dog came in. I could have let that derail me. I
Mm.
didn't. It's awkwardly awesome, and I love that. That I love that you uniquely are sharing that with the world.
Thanks. When I was when I was younger, I thought I was the only one, but there's just so many connections. It's exciting. We'll go off the screen for a minute, but what do you think of when you see this picture?
I remember the main thing that the key, the number one key that I think that got me from the top left corner to the bottom right. And that is the little mantra that's kind of cut off on the right hand side. So I'm gonna repeat it. You can't hate yourself into loving yourself.
You can't hate yourself into loving yourself.
Yeah. And I think in general, right now, I hear it from other people. I know I continue to struggle with it, and I have to be very proactive with myself. When we get on the scale and we don't see what we thought we would see, when we miss a workout, if we just see a picture of ourselves that doesn't look good, right? Or even as we age, we go through different seasons of life. Our bodies change. the we What I notice is that we tend to have a first reaction of beating ourselves up. I should be different. I
Mm.
should have gotten better. I think COVID-19 has also played a huge factor in how it changed all of our lives. People aren't getting up and getting dressed and showering and going off to work. Thinking of how they walked upstairs right through to your office, and so you get all those extra calories burnt off just by getting out and
Mm.
moving around. So we didn't have any of that. And I hear a lot of people say, well, I work from home now. I should eat right. I should be working out harder. I should be just, and we beat ourselves up. And I can say, if I think the number one unique thing I want to share with people is that's never going to get you where you want to be. You've got to love yourself right where you are with a sense of compassion to really achieve those goals, because hating yourself will always sabotage you.
So, So from the vantage point you are at now, what would you tell the woman in the top center picture?
I would tell her to hold on, don't give up, keep doing what you're going to do, keep trying every single thing possible, and it'll happen.
So you said you found no silver bullet. You had to change the way you view yourself and the way you moved energy within yourself. Like what are some tangible ways that you did that for yourself?
Yeah. So it's, and a lot of people are starting to talk about this. Just do one habit change at a time. If we take on too much, we won't bring that into our nervous system and make it a habit. So you just got to focus on one thing. If it's fitness, focus on that. If it's nutrition, and then we all have so much knowledge at our fingertips. We all can Google exactly what you're supposed to do, right, to get in shape, and yet we don't do it. Why don't we do it? Or we start it, right? Again, we get on the scale. It's not
Yeah.
what we thought. We get frustrated. We throw it all out. So the developing mantras, I think, and knowing that you're working on the habits, measuring it out. Okay, I'm working on this habit. How am I doing to that habit? And am I being honest with myself? And giving myself a sense of compassion if I didn't do it perfectly. So one of my big things is always in my head is, oh my God, did I do enough? Did I do enough? And the answer sometimes is no, I didn't do enough to be at my goal weight this week. Now, does that mean I beat myself up, right? Is that going to get me to where I want to be? No. What I can do is I can say, and I wrote this mantra down because it's one of my favorite mantras, and I used it through my whole transformation of losing 120 pounds. Was I am changing beautifully inside. I'm working on my
Uh,
habits.
uh,
Eventually, the outside will reflect the inside.
would you read that one more time? It's so good.
I am working on being beautiful inside. I am making those habit changes slowly, one at a time.
Hmm.
Someday, the outside will reflect the inside.
So so beautiful. So when at age 31, how did you decide which habit you wanted to change first? Because like we said, there's so many possibilities to choose from. How did you go from being overwhelmed to focusing on one thing?
I think it just put one foot in front of the other. It started with exercise in terms of just being able to heal some of the structural damage in my body. I had to actually get a trainer that could accommodate for some special needs at that time. And I even remember working through the exercise part and bawling, like crying multiple times, and feeling this emotion coming out of my body. And through that, slow diet changes, right? Reducing fast food, I think, was the big one. Eating at home, just started there. And, over the years, then I think what the key to keeping it off has been, this is great for the time of year we're talking about. Every year I started fresh, every single year.
Mm.
I would remember the quote, I think, from Dr. Phil. I think he said, this time next year, you'll either weigh more or less than you do right now. Right? So it's kind of, you either will or you won't. It's pretty clear. And each year I would just not let myself veer too far off the track. And I think that's another great mantra is it doesn't matter how far you veer off, it's just how quickly you get back on.
Doesn't matter how far you veer, just how quickly you get back on.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
And
so,
well, and I would say every year, so I would start fresh every year, just like I have again this year, and then I give myself permission to start over as many times I need in and many times I need in a year, right? So I
mm,
learned this actually in the dysregulation therapy that I did. Sometimes I would have a moment where I'd have a blow up moment. I'd rage at my kids or I'd scream and yell. And then I would have to go to them and say, can we start this day over? Like literally, can we? I apologize.
mm.
Can we just start it all over and just start from this moment as if it's the beginning of the day? Sometimes, Jason, they would have to. I would make them leave the room and then pretend like they would come back in, right?
Oh,
Good
wow.
morning, see you. It's nice to see you. Good morning. Here's your cereal bowl, even though 5 minutes ago we had a fight about it, right? And I started to do that with myself, right? Over the years. So if I ate a bag of chocolate malt balls, that's one of my weaknesses.
Mm.
It'd be like, you know what? I'm starting over. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Today's the first moment of my diet. 10 minutes ago doesn't matter. Starting over.
It's so visual. Like I think of a play and there's a real intense scene in like a play and the audience is all like this and maybe the curtain goes down and the curtain opens back up and it's a happy scene for whatever ever reason and I like that just that starting over idea.
I love that analogy you gave too. That's really good.
So speaking of starting, a lot of us, including me, have problems starting something the first time. Maybe so I want to go back to the training, your first trainer a little bit. What was it like to make that first phone call to the trainer?
It sucked. It was
So
awful.
how did it go?
It was horrible. I think I cried through the entire thing.
Even the phone call?
Yeah, it was my sister's trainer. I'll never forget that. I remember she had said for my birthday, what would you like for your birthday? I'll take you out for steak and chocolate cake or whatever. And I think I said, can you just give me a trial with your trainer?
Oh
Right. And she
my
was like,
gosh.
wow, yeah.
So in that ask and that request, you literally were refocusing how your sister could 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 serve you. Like she was giving you one set of gifts, steak, chocolate cake, and you're like, no, sis, I you could help me in a way different way.
Yeah.
So then what happened?
Well, and one other quick thing you just reminded me of is I used to tell her, and the reason why I wouldn't even consider that as a gift is I used to tell her I will never run. I will never run. And
Mm,
I ran a half marathon, right? Just last year, I think it was. And I try to run a couple 5Ks or a mini triathlon every year now. So it's just funny how we teach people how to think of us, right? So when we're
mm.
ready to change, we have to really communicate well to them that we're making different choices.
We teach people how to think of us.
Yeah, yeah.
So the first step was even before calling the trainer, asking, redirecting your sister's love in a new way. And then what happened next?
And then we got committed, right? I had to put up money, right, for the trainer's time. I think that was important, is to kind of tie that commitment. And then I had to keep showing up. And I'll be honest, Jason, I didn't do it perfectly. I think I missed things here and there. And I just kept pressing forward and took a lot of suggestions. I think when you become willing to make a change, you just need to listen, right? Listen,
Mm,
because there may be people in your life, loved ones, that have just been waiting to share what they learned. I mean, I'm really careful to not say to people, just because I did it, you could do it. Like it's kind of annoying sometimes, right? It's more, um, I want to inspire people to feel alive because I know how much it sucks feeling dead inside. But when people aren't ready to hear how to change. I mean, when I wasn't ready to change, I had walls 10 feet high, right? No one could have even asked me to go for a walk after a holiday meal. Like that would have pissed me
mm,
off. How dare you, right?
mm.
So it's I think step by step, if you're ready to change, start doing research, start listening, taking suggestions, and then trying things out, experimenting. Experiment with anything and everything that's of interest to you until you find the thing that you can stick with.
And also, but you said experiment and commit. Like how many sessions do you remember? How many sessions you committed to with your trainer that first time?
Yeah, I think I probably committed to six, and I think I probably missed half of them
Mm.
because it made me get
Oh, and that's inspiring even because you were 50%. You were 50%, but it still has gotten you to now. That's so inspiring.
That's right. That's right. And if I had focused on where it failed, as opposed to the fact that I showed up those three times in that month or
Mm.
whatever, I probably would have given up. But instead, kind of again, it's shifting that mindset. But to be super, super, just don't give up. So I love that cartoon where I think it's like a swan eating a frog or whatever, and the frog has its hands around the neck. Just never give up. Just know that you're going to do it. You just don't know how you're going to do it.
Yeah, never give up. And like even with having the podcast professional, I just realized that I forgot to put the banner back on, so I just put it back on. It's okay.
Yeah,
So it'll be up for at least 50% of the interview. So so I have to ask, and I don't know your answer yet, but I'm fascinated. Why do I have this guy?
aha,
I
I
mean, I
love
love this guy, but why do I have
so to all the listeners, I sent Jason a little visual aid to share a new technique that I think will really help anyone who's really trying to dig deeper inside. And I'd like to share it with you. And I can't wait for you, Jason, to take this technique and then share with everyone else what you come up with, because you don't have to come up with it today. The first thing we have to do is say the name of it right, which is really hard. So these are based on Russian nesting dolls. And the actual word is, we can each say it. Is it Matryoshka? Matryoshka dolls.
Matryoshka dolls?
You did it. It took me forever to learn how to say that.
I'm glad, I hope that you said it first.
So as we know, nesting dolls come apart, and there's another piece revealed. So one of the techniques that I'm experimenting with is, how do I really develop that why? And I think that goes back to Jason, even what you said, how do you start? Where do you start? How do you give yourself a fresh start, right? We might have this new year, same dreams. We may be working on our dreams and our goals from last year, but how do we give ourselves a real fresh start? And so, this technique about the Matryoshka dolls is from a book called The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. And what he talks about is think about where you are unique and where you are at your best and start with the big thing. So, like, I love to solve complex problems. That's why I work in HR tech and work as a technical solutions consultant. But how am I integrating that into my new venture? So, if I like to solve complex problems, where am I at my best when I'm doing that? Well, my next one would be I'm empathizing. I'm actively listening. I'm listening to what's not being said, right? When I'm working with people. So when I'm at my best empathizing, what am I doing then? Well, I'm able to summarize what I heard, right? So you just continue to develop the skills as you dig deeper and deeper. And I just want to show you the last one because I think the last one is the best. So if I get to the second to the last one, it would be, I'm comfortable with things being messy now, right? Things being imperfect. And then at the core of that, oh, my little tiny one, and I just dropped it, is that I don't give up. So all those skills, right? At the very core, what's the unique thing that Heather now brings? I don't give up. And so
oh my gosh.
I don't want to give up on myself. I don't want to give up on anybody that I work with, whether it's career counseling or if it's health and life counseling. Someone can tell me to stop helping them. That's fine, right? We get that. But if I'm there, if you want me to be there, I won't ever give up.
Wow. Goosebumpy.
So when you think of, and so I'd love to tell the audience a quick story too with your visual aid there. Because I don't remember what are all the nests in there. So is that one a seal?
A seal or a polar bear?
Oh,
I'm not sure.
see, you get to define it.
So I'm saying this is a polar bear.
All right, that's a polar bear. Big and furry and cuddly, fierce, fierce. So what's inside under the polar bear? Ooh, is that a buffalo?
Oh, is this a buffalo?
Yeah. Or is it a bear?
I think a bear, maybe.
Bear. Very cool. Very cool. Well, and so Jason, at the time that we've known each other, just a couple of years, the one thing that I know as you work through this, hopefully you'll want to take on giving this a try and sharing it with others. I know that you're an amazing connector. Like you really connect people and you bring people together in a way not many people do. Do you know that about yourself?
Yeah, I try to as much as I can, but I don't really think about it.
Well, you have so many great skills. And I think the unique way you show up in the world, you bring out the best in others. So that's something Heather thinks about Jason. So you take that in. I just think you bring out the best in people. And so I have this great story. May I tell you this story?
Oh yeah, I would love it.
How you connected? Because I have not told you this story in full context yet.
Oh yeah. I can't wait. This is going to be good.
Awesome. And so this is, I think, by the way, I think we should change the 6 degrees of to Kevin Bacon. I think we need to change it to the 6 degrees to Jason Freeman. I really believe that. It needs to be a new thing. So I was on another plane, and I think I was flying from, maybe it was from Phoenix to back to Sioux Falls. Because you and I are, South Dakota relatives. We are somewhere in life, Jason. I'm sure of it, right? And so I'm sitting on the plane as most people do, and scrolling through Facebook, just catching up. I think I was probably watching one of your podcasts or catching up on something. And the gentleman sitting next to me goes, "Oh my God, you know Jason Freeman? I know Jason Freeman." And I was like, "You do?" And he's like, "Yeah." And so I put my phone away, and I thought, I was reminded what a great experience it was meeting you, to really lean into this moment. And he's like, "Oh, yeah, our families have known each other for a long time. We used to go out to Jason's mother's and dad's house and have picnics out there. And it's just, he had such wonderful memories." And his name is Carl Grupp, which I think the Grupp family well. And Carl Grupp Jr. was sharing that his father had recently passed away, and that's why they were heading back to Sioux Falls. And so we chatted a bit more about business and a few other things. And he started to show me some artwork of his father's, because his father was a professor of art in Sioux Falls. And he's like, "Oh, and this is the house that we lived in." And I was taken aback for a moment, because I knew that house and I recognized it. And I was like, "Hang on a second, what was your name again?" And he said, "Carl Grupp." And it wasn't resonating. And I said, "My name is Heather. My maiden name had been Donovan, Heather Donovan." I said, "That house is right across the street from the house I grew up until I was 5. And he was like, and then he stood up, which freaked me out, to be honest. Stood up, turned around, and said, "Hey, Saskia, do you know a Heather Donovan?" And Saskia stood up and said, "Oh, yes, she's my best friend until she moved when she was 5.
You had told me the whole thing.
I cried, like tears coming down my face, right? I was like, first of all, I still need to ask Carl, why were they not sitting together, right? That's strange, but maybe they got their ticket late and they had to have different seats. So in the divine world, how was I put next to Carl? And I didn't remember Sarah. So Sarah is their older sister, as you know, Sarah and Saskia. And I should have grabbed the photos. I have photos of them in my photo album from when I was little. And I didn't remember their brother. You don't remember, and I probably never hung out with them. So I didn't remember that they had a brother. But Saskia is a wonderful name you don't easily forget. And so we chatted after, we took pictures. I showed her pictures I had on my phone of albums I've made that had them in it. And I got to learn how great the family's doing. I got to share where I was, how I was doing in life and my kids and my family. And what an amazing experience. And Jason, you were right at the center of that.
I didn't know the whole part of the story that they both were on a plane. That's amazing.
Isn't that great?
It's goosebumpy how when, like, maybe back in the day when I hate my voice and I was so shy, like maybe I would have been too shy to talk to you on the plane, and then you wouldn't have had my Facebook page and you wouldn't have had it open, and none of that would have happened. And it's amazing how when we are our authentic selves, things just open up for us and for the people around us. And I didn't have to do anything for that story to happen, that was a degree of magic. I mean, I'm part of that story, but the magic didn't take any effort on my part. I didn't even know about it all until now.
Yeah.
So
And I got to
inspiring.
tell that story also on the Hey Heather podcast last year. So I've been on a couple of podcasts where I've gotten to, and that's the first story I tell. It's the best story. Like sitting next to,
What does that story mean to you?
yeah, and I think it's another component of integrating yourself, right? Like we have space in this world. People remember us when we're 5. Uh, we have purpose. We have presence. We have worth. Like we sometimes lose that. I think as adults, life takes its shots, right? And
Mm,
just our being here means something. And if you
wow.
have desires to pursue, they're there for a reason. They're driving. I think of those
Wow.
dreams that I told you that were slipping, right? I had those desires to help bring me through that really tough time. And
Mm,
those desires drove me and kept me grasping, right? It's sometimes it's still so much in my head that I'll find the words and you'll help me write a book. I'm convinced of
mm, mm. Wow. That sounds exciting. And you have just such a powerful story because so many of us look at our dreams and say, "Oh, those would be fun," but I'm here. I can't. So we go buy dreams. But you like looked at your dreams as like, I want that. I'm going to just keep going until that happens. So speaking of dreams, you now have a new dream of being a health coach. How so what have you learned from being in human resources and technical problem solving for Fortune 100 companies that you are carrying into your new dream?
That's such a great question. The world of work is really struggling right now
Mm,
with or the people working, the employees are really struggling right now with
mm,
all the extra demands and the stress I think that our current culture brings. We
mm,
have no boundaries anymore with work, right? They can reach us any 24/7 on our phones,
mm,
email,
mm,
and we then let our wellness and our health suffer,
mm.
and it's really taking a toll on people. I don't know if you've heard there's this big thing out there called the Great Resignation.
Yeah,
Some
oh
people,
yeah.
yep. Some people call it the Great Migration, right? Like where people are just going to remote jobs. That it's there's a reason why it's happening for a lot of people, and there's nothing wrong with people going out and being entrepreneurs. Much like this, feeling like they have a greater purpose than just I call it being a keyboard jockey, right? But at some point, the world of work also gives us an opportunity to level up. It gives us an opportunity to learn from others. It
Mm,
exposes us to people internationally.
mm,
So the world of work isn't going to go anywhere.
mm,
And the people in those roles need more support than ever to develop the skills to have boundaries, to put their health and priorities first, and be able to be their best self no matter what they decide to do. Technology is a huge component of that, right? Technology is changing our lives every day. There's an amazing statistic that technology has surpassed our ability as humans to adapt, right? So
mm,
we're in a losing game if we think at work, we have to be robots and keep up with technology.
It's just not, we're not going to keep up with it.
No, no. But we have so many expectations, right? That perfectionism to perform, and it's part of our culture. So it's really prevalent in, I think, all of corporate systems right now. And so in America, we need more people focused on just health and well being, mental health. And the more we can have that agency or advocacy, I think individually, it'll help every system in America.
Well, it's a win-win. Like it's a win for the individual. It's a win because they show up more powerfully at work. And then they're happy at work, so it ripples out into their home life, and it's just this massive win-win, huh?
And companies are, most companies, well, those Fortune 500 companies, 100 companies are really taking it seriously
Mm.
to create programs of wellness and health.
Oh, and that's so exciting because that wasn't something that was on the radar for these companies as much 20 years ago.
Yeah, not even five, not even 10, yeah, not even 5 or 10 years ago. But and then you think about, like we talked about people being at home, but we're now behind a Zoom meeting. If you and I had met in person, right, we would have walked around for a while, we would have talked, I would have driven there. Like now we're 10 steps away from the bathroom, we're maybe 15 steps away from our bedroom. So there's so many things that are changing in our life that we just need to be, remember that we're human beings, right? Not
Mm,
human doings.
mhm.
And so we're going to have to be proactive to fight what technology is shifting in our world.
Wow, wow. I know people will be listening to this and be like, I want to talk to Heather. I'm dealing with something in my life around my health and well being, and Heather's been through this process. She's walked the walk, and now she's educated to help me. So how do people get a hold of you?
Oh, you're the best. So you can just DM me on Instagram at Heather Thomas _ SD, or reach out to me on Facebook Messenger, and even LinkedIn. I will be developing programs around career counseling by middle of the year, and offering full coaching sessions by probably June. And so if you send me your email, reach out to me now. I'll make sure I let you know when those are available.
Oh, what's your email address?
It's blessed with two boys
Oh yeah.
at gmail.com. It's kind of a long one. I will have to get a new business one. But you can share that one out too. That's my one that I've used for 20 years.
That's with two boys. Oh, it would have helped if I wrote it right. So the last question I always ask people is, imperfect best to me means like we have the idea, we have the vision, and when struggles and mistakes come up along the way, and instead of convincing us not to go for our dreams, we use the struggles and mistakes as inspiration, as learning tools to move forward. What does doing your imperfect best mean to you, Heather Thomas?
I won't quote the whole paragraph of our deepest fears, but I'll read the last line because that's what it means to me. So to finish your sentence, Jason, so you said, what does imperfect best mean to Heather? It means as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. And if we're liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others.
It's amazing, and I love that you end on that quote. That quote has. Did you know this? Did you know that I love that quote? Or?
I did not know that.
Oh my gosh, it's like probably my all-time favorite quote. So
it stays on my wall right in front of my office camera. So it's right behind my office camera all day long.
oh, that's amazing. It's amazing, and thank you for being you, my friend. Thank you for when you were 31, seeing that you had a couple of options and choosing the one that will bring you joy and bring so many people joy. Know that your choices and your efforts to grow and to just be joyful that they were brought into the world. Thanks so
And
much.
thank you for helping bring out this story that wanted to be told.
Uh, you're welcome. And now you're on the awkwardly awesome podcast. It's just so amazing.
The best.
Awesome. Thanks. Please stay on. I'll talk to you in a sec. Oh my gosh, so inspiring. When I was on that plane and she began telling me her story of her younger life, I'm like, what you've done the work and you've transformed your life into what you wanted to be. And oh my gosh, it's just so exciting. So please tune in for another amazingly okay, that's awkward when you forget the name of your own show. Note to all, take this note. Never, if you have a podcast, never forget its name. So tune in for another amazing, awkwardly awesome podcast next week. Thanks for your time this week. Have a great day.